Alright, we're doing more firmware hacking. Today we're going to do it on some PDAs. In this case, it is an HTC created Dell Axim X51V. Now, if you have been following the show, in early episodes I have done some segments on the Windows Mobile 5 version of this device, and it sucks. Dell does not know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to making a Windows Mobile device. In fact, I know a lot of people that are going to bitch and complain how much Windows Mobile sucks. Now, the cool thing about HTC devices is they usually disclose enough information for talented hackers and technophiles to create their own what's called cooked ROMs using something called a ROM kitchen. Now, in essence, a ROM kitchen is a set of tools and utilities that are used somewhat like Nlight or a Linux build distribution to build a custom Windows Mobile environment for your platform, for your device, suited to your needs. Now, this is normally running a really crappy copy of Windows Mobile 5. Now, Zero is a really big fan of HTC devices. He's actually the one who introduced me to this type of stuff. And whenever you're doing any kind of firmware flashing, you always have to outweigh the pros and the cons. What are you going to gain? What are you going to lose? Is this going to be risky to do? Is there a fail-safe? Is there a recovery method? You do not want to just jump face first into a 10-foot pool and then realize when it's too late that there's no water. Now, fortunately, a lot of this can be relatively easy and there's no chances of brick. Now, before you even actually flash the device, we have to understand how the device works. So the device was built. We have a flash ROM or some kind of storage chip on the actual PDA or phone or smartphone, whatever it may be, that will hold our operating system. How does that get programmed? You can't exactly pull the chip out. Well, you can't pull the chip out and put it in a programmer. It's built into the board. There's no optical drive. There's no USB drive. But there is an SD card and a compact flash card. Now, a lot of HTC devices can in fact be reflashed, firmware upgraded, through the actual USB port using ActiveSync. That might fail, so there needs to be a redundancy. What happens if something goes wrong? Power failure, rabbit chews through a cable, God really, really hates you and decides to strike your computer with a bolt of lightning. Usually they put in some kind of recovery mode or a backup modes or an SD card recovery utility. And this is another instance of using an OEM's devices against them to upgrade your device to make it do whatever you want. No more, fuck you, Dell, your Windows Mobile, anything sucks. And the one cool thing about these Dell Axims, the X5 and 5.0 series are QVGA, 320 by 240, and they're very good devices. I love them. The X51V and the X50V are full VGA, 640 by 480 with graphics acceleration. Now, unfortunately with the cooked ROMs that I'll be putting on here, the graphic acceleration isn't completely worked out yet, but that's here nor there. There's a lot more benefits than there are drawbacks. So let's go to the computer side. We'll gather some information real quick about exactly what we need to do to get things going. What we're looking at right now is the equivalent of a VNC copy of my Pocket PC. This is my mobile, or we use this for screen captures on the Pocket PC. Now, of course, I've done a few little software tweaks to it that really do not increase its performance whatsoever. Now, we're going to go into the settings real quick and just verify what kind of ROM and what kind of hardware specifications that we're using, because this is all information we're going to need to know later so we can do our research. Alright, so we're currently running Microsoft Windows Mobile version 5.0, OS 5.1.70, build blah 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 blah. So we've verified the CPU, blah, yay. I've got to tell you, the Windows Mobile 5 sucks so horrible on the Dell Axims. Okay, so here's our device system information. We're running a Dell Axim X51V on an Intel PXA 270 CPU. We have 624 megahertz X-scale CPU, so we can downclock to about 215. 64 megabytes of RAM, 256 megabytes of ROM. The ROM is the actual flash chip that will be holding our operating system as well as our installed applications. And we're currently running ROM version 806. Now this is actually a stock Dell ROM and it sucks balls. Alright, so we're going to minimize out of this. htcgeeks.com. If you have an HTC device, whether it be a smartphone or a PDA, I'd highly recommend hopping your browser over to htcgeeks.com and taking a look at what kind of work that they've done on your device. Chances being that they will have something to improve your piece of crap. So I've already gone ahead to the Dell Axim X51 series, and they are currently up to Lenny SH Windows Mobile 6 L11 20273, blah, 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 blah. Of course, other people were involved in making this, and I'd like to extend my utmost gratitude to them. They have truly made this device not suck. They've got some screen captures of some of the capabilities, and it even does a side-by-side comparison of what the stock Dell edition does, the bare bones edition, and the Lenny edition does. Notice how the stock edition does nothing. The Lenny edition does a whole lot more. Games, Microsoft Office, SQL Mobile, SD Auto Run, which is a very fun application, .NET should be CE, I don't know why they have it as CF. Got Bluetooth, FTP, remote desktop, menu sounds, whole bunch of stuff. Now, you got to become a member if you want to use their direct downloads. Otherwise, use RapidShare. I've become a member. Good idea. Now, the risks. Can you brick it? Theoretically, no. I've never actually encountered a brick. So, I've already gone ahead and I've downloaded a copy of the actual RAR file, and I extracted it. And these two files, one will be an NB0 file, which is the actual operating system that will be installed to the flash ROM, and a CRC file to make sure that there are no physical transfer errors. A CRC file is pretty much just a numerical check to make sure that the file is intact and whole, because if this image fails when it writes to your actual device, you're going to have a brick. So the CRC is there in place to make sure that that file is whole, complete, and there are no errors in it. Now, these need to be transferred over to an SD card, which I've already done. I'm using a really old 128 megabyte SD card. It's formatted as FAT32. So, now all of this is done, I'm actually going to go and readjust the camera angle so we can go and get an idea of the bootloader. Okay, so I've got my SD card in hand, I've got my Pocket PC, and we need to figure out how to put this into bootloader mode. Now, there are certain HTC products that you can update through USB and ActiveSync, which is a kind of a problem if you're running OS X or if you're running Linux. Luckily, most devices have some kind of button combination press that'll actually put it into an SD card or some kind of backup utility or install utility just in case. Now, whenever you're doing this, ever, period, whatsoever, I don't want to hear any shit from anyone, make sure you have the power pack plugged in. Don't do this from battery. If your battery dies, you might wind up with a brick. Now, luckily, I really don't give a crap too much, but I still have it plugged into the power. I'm going to re-angle the camera. Now, to get into the bootloader mode, it's kind of complicated. I got to hold the wireless button, the power button, and then hold the hard reset button on the back. Release hard reset, but still hold the power and wireless with the SD card inserted. So I'm going to go ahead, insert the SD card, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to re-angle the camera because I have a no bullshit policy on this show. So I'm going to do all of this real time, straight to tape. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have a brick or waste of time. So let's get to it. Alright, here we are booting to the default desktop, and we need to hit the power button, the wireless button, and the reset button pretty much at the same time. So I'm going to go and try to get hands around this without blocking the shot too much. So we're going to hold the wireless button, and then we're going to hit reset on the back with the stylus, release that, and that's the hardest part. Having to hit the to release the reset while still holding the wireless and power button. And there's the file that we want to update to. We're going to hit the little center action button over here, and it's going to say press action key again to update. within 3 seconds, or wait 3 seconds to abort. And it's going to read the SD card, it's going to verify the CRC, and it's going to go ahead and install the operating system. Keeping in mind that doing this will wipe everything you have installed on the actual device whatsoever. You're going to have to reconfigure your active sync, make sure you back up your contacts, make sure you back up your SIM card if it's a smartphone, make sure you have pretty much all of your applications backed up. It's going to completely format and reinstall this new ROM Kitchen cooked version of Windows Mobile 6 for the Dell Axim. Now, this could take a little while. Be patient. I'm just going to cut frame. Once it starts ending the process and it gets to the finalized installer, we'll get back to this. Alrighty, took about 10-15 minutes. It says update completed. Image update finished. Please press power and reset to do a full hard reset manually. So that means we got to take the stylus, give the little bastard a reach around, and hit the power button. Give it a hard reset. And there we go. Reflashed with an operating system that doesn't suck. Alright, so here we have it. I had to reconfigure it. I haven't set the clock yet, but just for the sake of getting on with the segment, you can notice that the start menu is a little bit different. At the top, we actually have a battery gauge. I don't know if you can notice this light green bar. It's also in addition to this ROM. We have a whole lot more programs. We've got built-in games. We've got a Bluetooth Explorer. Bluetooth wasn't working all too well before. Pocket RAR, quick menu, remote desktop. That wasn't included before. A YouTube player, and an audio mixer. They call it X51 mix. It allows you to have sound profiles for the specific device, like, extra bass, extra treble. Wireless power, enabling and disabling Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Windows Media Player with more codec support. A screen capture utility. In the settings alone, they actually have, well, we'll go to the system information real quick. And here we go. We're running a Dell Axim X51V, ROM version L11 Lenny SH, which means we're up, we're running, and we're reconfigured. In the past, you've heard me bitch and complain about how Windows Mobile 5 on a Dell Axim X51V really sucks. Now, it doesn't. One cool thing about this is if you actually have a phone, a smartphone or an HTC-based phone, you can actually use the USB to PC as well as the modem initialization, and you can actually go online through your cell phone. I actually have used this with my Windows Mobile based phones in the past using a similar ROM. So, with all of that in mind, the question is, are you brave enough to do something like this? Are you dumb enough to do something like this? Are you smart enough to do something like this? And is it worth it? In my opinion, yes. Now, perhaps in later segments we'll cover ROM kitchens. I'm not too sure because that's a pretty dicey area. I do know that we do have an HTC Touch Pro segment lined up in the near future, so you can always be looking forward to that. So, this was just an eye-opener. There's a lot more information on the internet. I'll put a lot more in the show notes. I really didn't go into an in-detail how-to because it's all on the HTC Geeks and XDA developer websites, on the forums, on their wikis about your specific device. So if you're running an HTC device, chances being is you can customize it, optimize it, and make it your device and take away that OEM branding that makes it suck oh so much. For any more information, go and hit the show notes. I'll have some links and information in there. If you need any help on any of these topics, you can always peg me on the forums or on IRC as always. Alright everyone, if you break your device, don't blame me.